Now we're up to Chaf Aleph Omid Beis. The Mishnah says, Omer ben Azai Chayiv Hadum Lamed Es Bito Torah. So that if she drinks from Mei Morarim, then Hazchus will be total. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Kol Lamed Es Bito Torah Malamda Tiflus. It's as if he's teaching her promiscuity. So the Gemara asks, Tiflus al Kedaita, because he teaches his daughter Tiflus, that's promiscuity? And the Gemara says, Ela ema ke'ilu limda Tiflus. It's not that he's teaching her promiscuity, chas v'shalom. But what Rabbi Eliezer is trying to tell us is that if he teaches his daughter Torah, it's as if he taught her promiscuity. Why? Because when she dedicates herself to Torah, then she gets something called armumius. I don't know how to translate that word into English other than cunning, meaning she learns the Torah in such a way that she knows how to get away with murder, how to do what she has to do, what she wants to do, and nobody will know about it. Amar Rabbi Avo, my time with Rabbi Eliezer. Where did Rabbi Eliezer derive, from whence did he derive this conclusion about the armimius that one could gain in a negative sense from Torah? The Ksiv in Mishlei Perek Ches, Vani ani chochma shachanti arma. And there's an equation here between wisdom, which is Torah, and arma. Kevin shenichnasa chachma bi adam, nichnasa imo armumis. That's what the Gemara says very often. It's a sam hachayim, otherwise it's sam amaves. In other words, there's a certain danger in studying Torah, because with the wisdom that you acquire through the study of Torah, you also have this armumius that penetrates into your being. And by teaching Torah to one's daughter, according to Rabbi Eliezer, then she will acquire armumis, and that will allow her to do things in private which are immoral. So she'll have kilkulim. And this armumis really, according to the Radal, dates back to the Nachash HaKadmoni, who had a relationship with Chava, and that was the beginning of the end, of the kilkul of Chava for Rabbanon. And what about Ben Azai? After all, he advocates and recommends that we teach Torah to the daughters. Hi, that pasuk ani chachma, my avdili, what does he do with this pasuk in Mishlei that Rabbi Eliezer derived his conclusion from? He needs to l'chidr Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, the Omer Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, ein divrei Torah miskaimel b'misha mamid atzmo arum alehem. So we're not talking about arma as cunning, but rather arma as arum. Arum means a poor person who's naked, he doesn't have money for clothing. And if a person will dedicate himself to Torah study, and as a result, he becomes poor because he doesn't, he doesn't spend his time, investing in the stock market or in real estate and making bombs of money. Then ani chachma shachanti arma. Then God says, I will connect myself, and my Torah will be connected to the person who makes himself into an ani, and that's the word arum. And Rabbi Yochanan is introducing the element of hanava. Ayin means someone who considers himself as ayin, as nothing. I don't think it means he considers himself as nothing. It probably means he thinks he's not important. I don't think anyone should say about himself, I'm nothing. Okay, Rabbi Shua Omer Rotza Isha, a woman would prefer a kav, which is a very small amount of parnasa, but tiflus, but she wants this sexuality, rather than get teisha kav and uprishus. Micah Omar, what does this mean? Rotza Isha bekav, she'll be satisfied even if she'll only get a kav of mizonos, the tiflus imo, but she'll have a constant intimacy with her husband, meaning that he won't go out to work. He'll be around the house, and she prefers that to Tisha Kavu Prishus, to a husband who goes out to work and brings back 9 times that parnasa, because that's precious. And she does not want to be a prusha from Tashmish, and therefore her desire for, in the context of marriage, is for tiflus. And for such a woman, it's not a good idea that she should study Torah, because the Torah is, Charlie, you have that article for Jeremy that you told me about? Yeah. Because the Torah teaches a person to limit tiflus. In other words, we shouldn't be matzah eitzel ishto ketarnagolis, constantly wanting tashmish. So that element of Torah is antithetical to her. And therefore, she will not love and appreciate Torah, because Torah is going to teach discipline and precious and mir tiflus, and she wants to expand tiflus, even to the extent in which she'll sacrifice her daily, her daily wealth. The Mishnah says, "Hu haya omer chasid shota." What is a chasid shota? Hechi dami chasid shota. The katava isis of nara. A woman is drowning. The Yomani declares, "I'm not going to go in and save a lava or a chara. It's not derech eretz listakule ba, to look at a woman viatzula in order to save her." Hechi dami. Now the Mishnah goes on to speak about it. Rasha Arum. Okay, so Rasha Arum is going to occupy us for the rest of the daf. What is a Rasha Arum? We'll have many, many possible interpretations of Rasha Arum. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Zeh hamatim dvarav l'dayon kodem sheyavel bal din chavir. A person violates an Isur Lav Doraisa if he's one of the litigants and he jumps the gun before his other counter litigant comes into the courtroom. He already presents into the ears of the dayan, of the judge, his arguments. And once the judge has heard those arguments, somehow it makes an impact in such a way that it can no longer be objective, and he cannot overcome that netiya that he has to be mezaka the first person. So this Rasha stops around, and he violates the lava lotisa shem hashav by telling the dayan what his arguments are. He's called a Rasha Arum. Now we get to Rabbi Avo. Rabbi Avo Omer Zeh no saying dinar li ani lahashon lo masayim zuz. The halacha is in matnas aniyim that an ani is someone who has less than masayim zuz, which is support for a full year. If he has less than masayim zuz, he has the chal shem, the status of an ani, and he's allowed to receive matnas aniyim, leket shekumpei, etc. So what does this guy do, Bi'arma? He knows that this particular ani has masayim zuz minus a shekel, and he decides to give a shekel to this ani, and that carries him over the hump, and he no longer can receive leket shekumpei. Now, why did this guy do this? He knew that he has relatives who are poor people, and he wants to make sure that they will pick up the chelik of this ani from the leket. This nan misheyesh lo masayim zuz lo yitol leket shekumpei ma'aser sheni. He's not an ani because he has masayim zuz. Hayalo masayim chased dinar. If he has 200, but he's missing 1 dinar, then he's allowed to take leket shekumpei afilu elif nosen lo kiachas. Even they give him 1,000 zuz in one shot, or he's allowed to take it. So this smart aleck, this Rasha Arum, because he's working for the benefit of his own relatives, he's going to make sure that this ani is out of the box. He's going to give him that extra dinar to make sure that he is no longer an ani. Now we have Rav Asi in the name of Yochanan. Who is this Rasha Arum? Hamasi eitzel limkar nechasim muatin. Okay, for this we have to get a quick overview of Masechet Ksubos. Okay. So let's see. He has here an introduction. The Gemara at the end of Baba Basra says that if a person dies and he leaves behind him both male and female children, so there are two cases. There's what's called the Chasim Merubim. That means that there's enough in his bank account, his possessions, to support both the boys and the girls. So in such a case, the law is that the Banim inherit all the Nechasim of their father, and they, the Banim, will now support their sisters, the daughters, until one or two things, until they became Bogros, they reach the age of 12 and a half, or Yisarsu, or they get married off. Okay. Now we get to the second case, and that's called Nechasim Mu'atim. And that means there's not enough in the estate to support both the Banim and the Banos. So what do? We separate from the estate enough money to dedicate it for the mizonos of these Banos Ktanos up until Bagrus, and the balance is given to the Banim. That's called Nechasim Mu'atim. Okay, now let's get back to the Rasha Arum in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Masi Eitza Limkar b'Nechasim Mu'atim. So really, in such a case in Nechasim Mu'atim, the Banos will receive their mizonos from all these Nechasim. But this guy comes along and he whispers into the ears of these Somim, he gives them the following recommendation: you know what? Sell the Nechasim. Because the Banos only have a right to the actual estate, but not to monies that come in afterwards. So the estate is now inherited by the Banim, and now they're, based on this recommendation, this council, they are selling these Nechasim. They cut out the daughters. The daughters will then have mizonos. The Omer of Asi, Omer of Yochanan, Som Shekadmu Machum Nichsei Mu'atim, Mashem Machru Machru. The Rabbanan never were mafkia that sale. So the sale is valid, and therefore, if before the Banos got to Bezdin, in order to get possession over the Nechasim, the Yisomim, the male children, sold these Nechasim, then the din is that sale is valid, and there is no, and Le'inyan Zchusa Mechira Nechasim Nachshavim B'Rshusam, meaning that despite the fact that ultimately, in Nechasim Mu'atim, you have to dedicate the money for the Banos, but nevertheless, the Banim have still maintain a legal right to sell the Nechasim. They're still B'Rshusam. And this guy gives the Eitzah to the Banim, they should sell it. And once they sell the Nechasim of their father before the whole situation comes into Bezdin, they will cut out the Banos. And therefore, he's a Rasha for giving that Eitzah. Now we're talking about the case of Nechasei L'chav Achrecha L'plonim. A person gives a gift to, let's call him Reuven, gives a gift to Shimon with the stipulation that with Shimon's death, the money should go to Levi. However, there is a way in which Shimon could cut out Levi. And that is, if Shimon goes ahead and he sells the possessions during his lifetime, then the buyers acquire ownership over those possessions in a way that the second guy, we called him Levi, Reuven Shimon Levi, will not be able to invalidate the Mechira and collect that which they want. So Reuven really indicated his desire that ultimately these Nechasim should be inherited by Levi, and now Shimon is going to cut out Levi by selling these Nechasim. And who gave him the Eitzah? This Rasha Arum gave him that Eitzah. This side we learned in the Brayso Nechasei L'chav Achrecha L'ploni V'yarad Arishon U'machar. So Shimon went ahead and he sold the possessions, V'yachal, and whatever mos he had, he consumed them. I mean, that's not relevant to us. But anyway, Hasheni, now we're up to Levi. Motzi miyad alakuchos dibri Rebbe. According to Rebbe's sheet, but we're going according to Reb Shimon. But according to Rebbe, you should know that Shimon does not have the legal rights to cut out Levi. He never had rights to sell the nechasim and be mafkia Levi. That's Rebbe's sheet. But Reb Shimon Gamliel Omer, ein l'sheni alamash shia rishon. Even though lechatchila Shimon should not sell these possessions because Reuven indicated his desire that these possessions should be inherited by Levi, but nevertheless, Reuven did not object or stipulate that Shimon does not have the full ownership rights to sell the nechasim. So lechatchila, if Shimon plays the game the way the Torah wants him to play it, he would not sell these nechasim, but nevertheless, since the original owner, the Nosein Hamatana, we'll call him Reuven, did not stipulate that Shimon has no rights to sell it, pardon the double negative, then he can sell these nechasim and cut out Levi. So at Shimon's death, Levi will not be able to remove those nechasim for the possession of the buyers. And this Rosh Ha'aram gave the Eitzah to Shimon that he should go ahead and sell these nechasim. It's in his best financial interest to do so. And that's a chet, because, on the one hand, he's not getting any benefit from it. But on the other hand, he's cutting out Levi when Reuven, the original Nosein, wanted Levi to inherit these possessions. Now we have another interpretation of Rosh Ha'arum. Rabbi Yosef Bar Chama, Rav Sheshes HaMachriach Cherim Be'orchosov. He presents himself, he's really a Rasha. He presents himself as a tzaddik, and he tells people, Ru'u Darki, follow in my footsteps. V'yasu Kimoni. Yeah, I'm a great tzaddik, so why don't you imitate me, emulate me? So he wants to show himself, B'yeni Abrius, as if he's a great chassid, because he doesn't want people to, look carefully at his maisim, which are evil. Rab Zvi Amar Rav Huda, what's a Rosh Ha'arum? He tells others that they should be machmir in all these halachic issues, but he himself personally in private is mekil. So he's doing be'arma. Why? He doesn't want people to know that he's such a mekil and he's very lenient and lax and laid back. So he paskins for them l'chumra in order to mislead them into thinking that he himself is machmir. Ula Omar. Ula has another interpretation of Rosh Ha'arum. I'm not sure what number we're up to. I think number 6. And here we turn to page Chav Beis. Zeh shekara v'shana v'lo shimesh talmidei chachamim. This is an insult to Torah. Why? Because he studies and he studies and he refuses to learn from the chachamim, the tamim of the halacha, the svaras and the definitions of the halacha. He's a rasha because he has a distorted understanding of Torah. Because he doesn't know and he doesn't take the time and the effort to understand the tamei Torah, the underlying reasoning of the Torah. And you know what? Some people are going to ask him questions. They see, he's dedicating himself to Torah. Let's get his views. And they'll listen to whatever he says. They think he's a great baki. He's an expert in halacha, but he never studied the Tamim because he was never mishamesh the Talmidei Chacham of his generation. That's an insult to Torah. And not only that, he's going to get kavod when he doesn't deserve kavod, as if he were a Talmid Chacham. And now we're going to study exactly what is the definition of someone who's not mishamesh Talmidei Chachamim. Itmar. Hara v'shanav lo shimesh Talmidei Chacham. Rabbi Lezer Omer Reiz Hamaretz. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmeni Omer Reiz Bur. Rav Yanai Omer Reiz Kusi. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Omer Reiz Magosh. And Omer of Nach Bar Yitzchak Mistabra Kirav Acha Bar Yaakov He's a magosh. Magosh is a machshev who does tricks and he fools you, optical illusions, and he's gonev das habrios. The Amri Inshi, people have this idiomatic phrase of rotin migosha v'lo yoda my omar, tani tana v'lo yoda my omar. A person who does lechoshim and kishuv, v'eno mevin mahem uma pirusham, he doesn't really understand what this kishuv is all about. He has a koach to do these actions of kishuv, these sorcery, but he really doesn't know what it's all about. And that's a mashal for someone who studies Torah, but he's not mishamish talmidei chachamim. He really doesn't understand his Torah. So we have Hamaretz. He has the din of Peros. Hamaretz is Peros Admai. We're choshen him that he wasn't mafresh masar. He's not believed on Dinitaros. He does not have the status of a Talmud Chacham. He's an Hamaretz. And Big Day Hamaretz Medrash is an Avatuma to Tami Avikolim L'Midrash Zav. And all this is because he's not a Bakin Dikduke Hatamim of Taros and Tumos. And he's a Bur. A Bur means an empty person. He's desolate from everything. Really, he's worse than an Amoritz. He doesn't know the tiv of Masumat and how to understand and analyze the halacha. And Rabbi Yanai calls him a kusi. He's one of the kusim who are never choshesh l'divrei chachamim. And if he's not mishamish talmidei chachamim and he's not makbid to hear their understanding, their explanations of the Talmud Torah, then he cannot be considered a Talmud Chacham. He's like a kusi who's not interested at all in what the Chacham have to say. And therefore, the halachic implications of Rabbi Yanai are that his pas and his yain are asurim. And in Mirza Hashem, tomorrow we'll start with Tanur Rabbanan, Ezehu Am Ha'aretz. Let's just make a note of where we got up to today. And tomorrow is 9:45. Okay, have a great day. Thank you so much.